Thank you so much for joining. We've got quite a bit of folks joining us online and on their phones. If you'll notice, we're muting everybody. If you haven't been muted, we're muting everybody just so we can have a smooth presentation. There will be time at the end where where you can unmute and ask questions. But in the meantime, we ask that you stick to the chat box. So if you're here tonight, hopefully you're not here by accident. You're here to learn about the homelessness response plan. Today is the third public meeting that we've had this week, and we welcome you to our first and only virtual meeting. Just a little bit of housekeeping. One, my name is Catherine Duarte, and I am the HUD Programs Manager here at the Housing and Community Vitality Department. Before we move on much further, I just want to share with everybody, if you're on your laptop and you're watching this on Teams and you're having a hard time with your audio, just want to make sure that that you can navigate to the audio toolbar in Teams and make sure it's set to the right speakers. Maybe you're on a Bluetooth headset, maybe you're using your laptop speakers. Just want to make sure that you're using the right settings. Today is also, today's meeting is closed. You'll notice some transcription below. So if you're not seeing it, if you can go to the three dots on your Teams window and go to language and speech, and you can toggle on and off whatever your preference is. And just so you know, before we move too much further, this meeting is being recorded. We're going to download the recording, present it, or publish it on our website. And anybody who could not make it tonight or at our two previous public meetings this week will be able to watch the presentation and participate in the polling that you guys will be able to take advantage of today. So again, I cannot thank you all enough for making time out of your day to attend this. This is not the first time we've asked people to share their thoughts on homelessness, and it will certainly not be the last. This has been a year-long effort, and through the input of countless first responders, service providers, frontline workers, businesses, and residents like you all, we're shaping these homelessness initiatives quite nicely. And you can keep up with this project at this website here, coloradosprings.gov/2024 homelessness response. So if you're on your laptop, you can, at the end of the presentation, you can participate in our text poll. With your phone or on your laptop, we can get into that later. So just during the presentation, as you're listening to the goals and objectives and strategies, just be ready to answer these two questions that you see on your screen. Which goal is the most important to you? We're going to be presenting 6, and we're going to ask for your top choice. Secondly, is there a tool or strategy that you feel is missing from the plan? And if you don't get a chance to respond to these with the poll, you can always email us at the email presented here, housingandcommunityvitality@coloradosprings.gov. And hopefully we will keep our presentation short enough so that there is some time at the end of the session to answer your questions. If you think of questions as we're presenting, please feel free to use the chat box. Again, because we're recording, all of the chats will be saved. And anything that we can't answer at the end of the meeting, we will post them on our website with answers as best as we can answer them. So again, I cannot stress how much people, residents of Colorado Springs, make a difference when creating these plans. Just since we've started creating these, we have changed how we address homelessness in a number of ways. One from how we've done it in previous months, and as a result of Tuesday's meeting, we've made some changes from what we heard there. So If you're not new to this, if you feel like you understand how the city has traditionally responded to homelessness, we have made a few changes that you will see in this initiative, starting with an expansion of our HOT team, our the Colorado Springs Police Department's homeless outreach team. We will be exploring feasibility for constructing more public restrooms, meaning looking into the costs. We have federal funding available to build non-congregate shelter and permanent rental housing for people exiting homelessness. We are looking into expanding our street and sidewalk cleaning routines in high pedestrian business districts. There is a piece in this plan that talks about advocating for legislative change for more effective homelessness response. And this time we are looking at a regional collaboration. This is not an issue that ends at our city limits. It's something that affects the whole Pikes Peak region, and we're looking into ways to address that in a more holistic way. And lastly, we're looking at programs that really work in making a difference in increasing incomes and stability for people experiencing homelessness, including our employment programs like Work COS. So we're really excited to tell you more about that. Tonight's agenda, we're going to talk about how this plan was made, the history of the engagement that went into this, and how all of this, the feedback from this week is going to affect and shape the homelessness response plan. We're going to look at roles, about what roles the city plays. Very briefly, we're going to just talk about what the Pikes Peak Continuum of Care is, and just how it affects our ability to fund these services. We're going to give a little sneak peek on some very basic data. And I say sneak peek, that when the plan comes out in September, there will be a much more robust look at subpopulation data. And then we're going to get into the plan contents, just looking at this basic structure of the main goals and objectives and the strategies. And then lastly, we're going to see what you all think, and we'll have some time for a text poll and some questions via chat. And if you're on the phone, a way to unmute yourself and ask questions. So getting to this point, this plan is a result of a lot of public feedback. It's also one of the recommendations from our mayor's strategic plan that was just unveiled a couple of months ago. In the strategic plan, through lots of community feedback, we have 5 overarching priority areas, and homelessness features very prominently under the public safety priority. So if you look at this screen here under the public safety goal, excuse me, I'm going to mute everybody here. Thank you. Under public safety, under objective number 2, support coordinated efforts of community partners to implement evidence-based practices that address public safety concerns around homelessness and behavioral health. So that is what this plan is all about. It's coalescing all of the people with subject matter expertise, lived experience, and getting them all in the same room and talking about how we're approaching this. As far as community engagement, there have been so many different ways that we've listened to folks throughout the last year. Last year, starting with the mayor's listening sessions, where we convened 7 meetings, 1 in each council district and plus a virtual meeting, we heard from over 650 residents about what matters to them. To no one's surprise, affordability and homelessness came up, housing affordability and homelessness came up as top concerns. Following that, the mayor recruited a lot of resident leaders to develop the strategic plan, and this happened over the course of 5 months earlier this year with 46 participants, 11 meetings, and a lot of really fantastic feedback about how all of these strategies, how all of these goals work together. As the Housing and Community Vitality Department, we work pretty consistently with our homeless service providers. Just last month, we worked with regional providers and gave them a similar sneak peek to what you're seeing today, and we incorporated their feedback into this. Also, over the last year and a half, our homelessness prevention and response coordinator, Crystal Carr, has been meeting with service providers in the medical space who serve folks with high medical acuity needs. These are folks who are too sick to stay in the shelters and not sick enough to stay in the hospitals, and really identifying what the service gaps and capital project gaps are for this group. In our department, we also do routine public meetings about how to spend the federal dollars that we receive from the government on topics like affordable housing, homelessness, neighborhood issues, infrastructure. A couple months ago, the mayor held a telephone town hall meeting to talk about public safety with over nearly 3,400 participants. And again, to no one's surprise, homelessness was the top concern in that call. We got a lot of really great feedback from the polls that were conducted and some of the comments that folks provided. And then lastly, it turned inward and talked to our city departments. 12 departments and divisions in the city have some touch point with homelessness. And we'll talk about what those lanes are and how that shaped the plan. But altogether, just to get where we are now, we've heard from over 4,300 people, just 65 on Tuesday and over 120 earlier today. We'll be adding to those numbers later. We've taken people's feedback very seriously, and we consider this a truly community-led plan. So we're excited to hear what everyone has to say tonight, and we'll talk about next steps, when to expect a final draft of the plan. So I will hand this next slide off to Katie Sunderland, our acting Chief Housing Officer, to talk to you about how the city responds to homelessness in the different lanes we roll in.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening to provide your response and your input on the city's response to homelessness. What I'm going to outline here is what lanes the city has and how we can respond to homelessness through the different departments and divisions that are housed underneath the city. So first off is we are able to be funders. So that's through the Housing and Community Vitality Department. So that's the department that Catherine, myself, and our homelessness response and prevention coordinator, Crystal Carr, fall under. We manage and allocate the city's general fund as well as federal funds that we receive from the Housing and Urban Development Department from the United States. So what we do is we use those funds to support local nonprofits, construction projects, housing facilities, and programs related to homelessness prevention and response. And so to give you a general idea of what those buckets of funds look like, we have a $500,000 line item in the city's general fund to use for shelter operational support, and that this year was allocated to Springs Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, and The Place, which serves youth experiencing homelessness. We also receive $250,000 in a grant from HUD to be able to respond and allocate funds to street outreach as well as shelter operations. We have funding to provide for service providers who are providing services to those experiencing homelessness, and that's about $200,000. And then we have another bucket of funds that we're able to help use for the construction of housing, and that ends up being about $750,000 specifically for those experiencing homelessness. The second piece of our response is our enforce and protection agencies. This is like our police department, which includes our HOT team. And we have Lieutenant Steckler on the line, who after this overview of our lanes will introduce himself. We have our municipal court and which has our homeless outreach court, which is a docket that is specifically for those experiencing homelessness. We have our Parks and Recreational and Cultural Services Department. They have urban trail rangers who coordinate cleanups for our city trails. Our fire department, which is our typical fire response for fire emergencies and medical emergencies, as well as inspections. And then our Pikes Peak Office of Emergency Management, which helps coordinate our our cold weather sheltering response in our cold weather months. Additionally, we provide cleanup services. So neighborhood services cleans homeless camps that are illegal homeless camps throughout the city. We also have street outreach through the fire department, and we have our homeless outreach program as well as our transitional assistance program. Both of these are intensive outreach and navigation services, and we have Steve Johnson on the line who will explain a little bit more about those programs. We're also an employer. Through our public works department, we have a program called Work COS, where we are able to employ individuals who are living in the shelters or in transitional housing, and who are engaged in services. And so what they're doing is maintaining our city-owned properties and medians. And then finally, one of our more important functions is to make sure that we're communicating what's happening on the ground with our teams, as well as some of our teams in the community.
Yeah.
And it's our communications part. Sorry, I'm going to mute everybody as well. I'd like to use this time. Steve Johnson, can you introduce yourself and your team?
Yes, I can. Give me a second here. I don't know if I can get on video or not. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right. No video option on my side, but so you don't have to see my charming face. So Steve Johnson, Colorado Springs Fire Department, Community and Public Health. The work we do here focuses around individuals who are having a difficult time accessing the system in many ways. But tonight, specifically, I want to discuss our homeless outreach program and our transition assistance program. HOP and TAP is what we call them. So our homeless outreach program is made up of 4 individuals that work in 2 teams of 2. One is a master's level clinician. The other is someone with a bachelor's degree and crisis experience. They work out on the trails. They work along the downtown corridor. They work in homeless shelters. They go to the camps, and their main goal is to build relationships and then begin to navigate people into the services that they need in order to really deal with the things that are keeping them in the position they are. So that might be a lack of documents, no housing, no job. It might be substance use. It might be mental health or physical health challenges. And so this team will start with building those relationships, building trust. And once there's trust between them and the individual they're able to then connect them to the services they need to thrive and move forward in their life. The other team we have, Transitions and Assistance Program, is built around individuals, initially around those who were coming out of the jail when we started this, who really were at high risk or high vulnerability, individuals with severe mental illness, with substance use issues, and homelessness. A lot of them, when I interviewed folks, I learned that they wanted to do better, but when they came out of the jail, they had no resources and no one there to walk with them. And so they would fall back into the same pattern. And so we put together a team. We have 6 when we're fully funded. We're grant funded. So right now I don't have all 6, but they work with those folks coming out. They build a relationship before they come out of the jail. And then when possible, we pick them up. If not, we then gain access to them very quickly to help them get into sober living, to help them get to their doctor, to get all the things they need to, again, to make those choices and be able to change their life into a way that is much more positive and what they hope and dream for. And then the last part of that, in conjunction with Chief Judge Kane and the municipal courts, we are putting a navigator at the court here at the city's municipal court, and also very soon down at the jail for those who are on that quick turnaround where they're arrested and brought in, but then released fairly quickly, so that we can start to help them as well make those changes, get those resources in their hands, and help them to start taking advantage of the services that can help them get out of homelessness and into a life that they want to be into.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Lieutenant Steckler.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Steckler. I oversee the Homeless Outreach Team, or HOT as we abbreviate it, for the Colorado Springs Police Department. HOT consists of 6 officers and 1 sergeant who are entailed with enforcing the illegal camping ordinances within the 200 square miles of the city of Colorado Springs. I also oversee the downtown area response teams. I have 2 teams of downtown area response teams, or DART as we abbreviate it. Those teams are concentrated within the recognized commercial entertainment districts within the city that consist of these 3 areas: the downtown core, the South Nevada Avenue core, and then the Old Colorado City area. Now, the downtown area response teams, we have a morning team and we have a team that works from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. And they provide community policing and other enforcement within those commercial districts. And you're probably sitting there going, okay, how do we enforce illegal camping over 200 square miles with just a handful of folks? So at CSPD, we have implemented a special cadre of officers within the last couple of years that consists of patrol officers that have received an additional 10 hours of training in illegal camping enforcement, and they will handle camping violations within their various assigned patrol divisions. And those HOT subject matter expert officers, or SMEs as we call them, they usually handle camps that are 3 persons or smaller. Our homeless outreach team itself handles camps of 4 persons or more, and our high frequency camp locations within the city.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Come here. The Colorado Springs, this is a meeting, and it took me a long time to get on it. It's sponsored by the Colorado Springs city government. And the topic is
I don't know if I can't mute.
I tried
Catherine,
to.
do you want to
I couldn't.
move back a couple slides?
Yes.
And I think we had our Judge Kane, I think he was going to join us, but I think he had a conflict come up, so we won't hear from him.
Next up, we wanted to define homelessness. There are a lot of ways people define homelessness, but here in the plan in our department, we have a pretty restricted definition. The more broad definition comes from the McKinney-Vento Act, a piece of legislature from over 20 years ago, that encompasses what we as funders of HUD funding use. And the basic definition is: if you sleep in a shelter or transitional housing, if you sleep outside or a space not meant for human habitation, or if you're actively fleeing domestic violence and seeking services from a provider. That is the definition you need to meet if you serve those folks to receive our funds. On a broader level, when we count homelessness in our schools, the McKinney-Vento Act was meant to count homelessness among school children and their families. So adding to that HUD definition includes doubling up or couch surfing, or temporarily staying with family or friends due to financial issues, or living in a hotel or motel because of a financial setback or general inability to lease or rent a home. So with that context in mind, I'm going to pass it back to Katie to talk about basic trend line in the population among homeless folks in the point in time count in McKinney-Vento.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, like Catherine mentioned, there's two data points that we take a look at annually, and these are data points that are readily available for our community and as well as the communities that surround us. The blue line that you see on this graph is what's called the point in time count. So what that is a snapshot look into those experiencing homelessness. So on one night in January, volunteers go out and count the number of people experiencing homelessness, both in our shelter system as well as along our creeks and trails. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a point in time. And so what we see with this is a trend line over on this graph, but back until 2018. Similarly, McKinney-Vento is counting the number of students within El Paso County who are experiencing homelessness, and this count comes out of the school districts. So you can see for 2023, we have 1,181.
Yeah, and this would be the student count. This does not count all the members and their families.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, so we're going to jump into the meat of this, and I want to give you a roadmap for how this plan is structured. So the plan is structured along what's called the homelessness continuum. And so we are addressing strategies across this continuum based on how the city can respond. So if we think back to the diagram that I was just going through, our different teams and the different ways that we are able to respond to homelessness. For those who are at risk of homelessness, we can provide homelessness prevention strategies. Those who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness, we are an enforcer through the police department and our other agencies. So enforcement and cleanup, our street outreach and shelter operations. And during sheltered homelessness, we can provide employment opportunities through our Work COS program. And then in order to get people housed, we are able to provide housing solutions and supportive services through some of the funding that we receive from the federal government. And then throughout, we'll address some strategies about regional collaboration and communication strategies. And I now have the pleasure of introducing Crystal Carr, who is our homelessness response and prevention specialist, and she is going to go through the specific objectives and strategies within the plan.
Hi, it's nice to meet everybody and thank you for joining us. I will be turning off my camera so you can focus on the slides, but thank you for joining us. Homelessness prevention. Objective 1.1 is to expand capacity and leverage resources to help low and extremely low income households remain housed and increase housing stability. To be successful in decreasing homelessness, making it rare, brief, and non-recurring in our community, we must work to prevent new individuals and families from entering homelessness, as well as provide assistance to exit homelessness. We are fortunate to have amazing community partners doing this work. They need us, the city, to help bolster their work and expand capacity. This usually means capital. The city uses Housing and Urban Development HUD grants to support our local agencies. We are constantly working to recognize and engage agencies doing good work and invite them to apply for funding. We will increase the number of letters of support to local agencies when they are applying for funds outside of the city. Our support demonstrates that these agencies are valuable community resources and have robust support for the work that they are doing. The more funding we can get into the community and to the local agencies on the front lines, the more successful everyone will be in making homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. Additionally, we are looking and applying for non-HUD grants to increase the amount of dollars coming into the Housing and Community Vitality Department to prevent homelessness. This is absolutely necessary as we identify gaps in household needs and work to grow and replicate programs that are successful. Objective 1.2 is to increase education and services specific to seniors to help them remain housed. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, seniors aged 55 and older are the fastest growing population of people experiencing homelessness. This is not surprising when noting the rising costs of housing and that most seniors are living on fixed incomes. We will assist in bridging the gap between housing service providers and senior-specific providers to create solutions specifically aimed at keeping seniors safely housed. Objective 1.3 is to increase collaboration between mental health practitioners and local housing providers to help people experiencing mental health crisis stay housed or get rehoused quickly. We also recognize the need to bridge the gap between mental health and housing services. We have heard from mental health providers that they are hearing more concerns about housing from their patients. Homeless service providers see the impacts of trauma on their clients every day. Bringing these groups together can help immensely to streamline access to services and provide the right resources at the right time. Objective 1.4 is to increase landlord participation in rental assistance programs to help housing voucher holders find housing. Our closing piece with prevention is to improve relationships between landlords and support agencies. There is great work being done here through community health partnerships, Housing Navigation Group, and the Apartment Association. We will continue to work with them and highlight landlords that are working with tenants to keep them housed and successful. We also want to hear the concerns landlords have and work to create solutions that are win-wins for our community. For enforcement and cleanup, Objective 2.1, enhance community safety through prevention, response, and engagement. Homelessness is devastating for the people experiencing it, and we recognize that homelessness, especially unsheltered homelessness, can have negative impacts on our environment, local businesses, and the public, both housed and unhoused. The longer amount of time people experience homelessness, the more significant the effects on their physical, mental, and behavioral health. Individuals with high medical, mental, and behavioral health needs are more likely to be unsheltered and have disruptive behaviors that negatively impact local businesses and public safety. Negative and harmful behaviors are likely to increase the longer a person experiences homelessness. Please remember, the existing enforcement strategies were developed by the enforcement teams based on the realities of the budget constraints these teams face. All strategies within this document could include identify additional resources to expand capabilities. Colorado Springs Police Department's homeless outreach team is focused on enforcement with compassion. This means they will ticket and arrest individuals while also providing them resources and encouragement to use those resources. We will be increasing the Colorado Springs Police Department's homeless outreach team. To assist business owners struggling with negative impacts of unsheltered homelessness, we will provide a toolkit to business owners on how to access resources available for trespassing, vandalism, waste, and cleanup. We will continue to collaborate with business associations to ensure that their business districts are safe for customers and staff. Everyone in our community deserves to feel safe and welcomed. Objective 2.2, continue to refine efficient cleanup response and property retrieval processes and ensure the environment is inviting and safe for all. Last year, the city added the Urban Trails Park Rangers to assist with keeping city trails safe and clean. We are examining ways to give them more agency to post notification of pending camp cleanups. Public bathrooms are good for everyone in the community. We will be studying the costs and savings of creating safe bathrooms that everyone can use when they are out and about. If this is found to be effective and financially sustainable, we will create a strategy to increase the number of public restrooms. We see value in educating groups and individuals wanting to help people experiencing homelessness by handing out goods, such as food and blankets, but those items often end up as trash and waste. We want to create solutions to mitigate the excess waste while still allowing them to provide care and compassion. Objective 2.3, monitor, report, and inform on state legislative activities and how they impact how the city responds to homelessness. We know that there are times in which the community gets frustrated when police are not able to respond in the ways they expect them to. Often, state legislative actions impede what officers are able to accomplish. We will work with other municipalities in the state to engage the state legislature and governor's office to improve enforcement. convene internal and external stakeholders to identify opportunities for legislative reform, to increase enforcement abilities, and coordinate multi-jurisdictional conversations with elected officials to convey the increasing safety concerns businesses are experiencing due to recent legislation. For street outreach and shelter, Objective 3.1, find partners to operate non-congregate shelter for underserved populations to reduce the number of people considered unsheltered or homeless. In 2023, the Housing and Community Vitality Department began meeting with agencies providing services to people experiencing homelessness, as well as medical and mental health providers, to assess gaps in the shelter and housing system that make it difficult and sometimes impossible for our most vulnerable people to obtain shelter services. Our shelter providers are doing immense and important work. However, they are not equipped to also provide medical and mental health assistance for individuals and families that have significant needs. Our community needs a non-congregate shelter, which is a shelter that has individual rooms with private bathrooms, as well as appropriate medical and mental health services, so that our community's most vulnerable have a pathway out of homelessness. Additionally, there is a significant need for non-congregate family shelter, where families can have privacy and remain sheltered together. There are far more families calling for shelter than there are spaces to accommodate them. The highest risk factor for homelessness as an adult is having experienced it as a child. Our children deserve to have slept in a safe and consistent bed every night. Can you imagine what a generation of children that went to school after sleeping well and with a full belly could do? The city received $1.1 million of home ARP funds to assist in the acquisition or development of a non-congregate shelter. We will also commit to providing up to 5 years of limited operational support using ESG emergency shelter funds. Objective 3.2, continue regional collaboration to refine emergency sheltering for extreme cold weather response. To protect the lives and limbs of unsheltered citizens, we will continue to assist the Pikes Peak Office of Regional Emergency Management to refine and improve our response plan for extreme cold weather, which necessitates opening temporary shelters to create additional capacity for those people who may not otherwise access shelter. Employment opportunities. Objective 4.1, explore opportunities to expand the Work COS program within the city and community. One of the city's best kept secrets is the Work COS program that employs individuals who are residing at a shelter or in transitional housing. They are hired through a temp agency and work 36 hours a week. Their supervisors brag all the time that the Work COS crew is some of the hardest workers that they have. The program began in 2019, and since then, we have had 32 participants. 3 individuals became full-time city employees, one of which just bought his first home. 14 have become full-time temps with the city. 4 have moved to full-time positions outside of the city, and we currently have 7 active participants. We want to expand this program to other city departments and businesses in the community. The participants bring a variety of education and talent. They simply need opportunities that give career options that will sustain housing. Affordable housing and supportive services. Objective 5.1, support permanent supportive housing and very low income affordable housing development. Housing affordability is a top concern of many residents. Rental and home ownership costs have skyrocketed in the past several years, while salaries have not increased at the same rate. Housing and community development will continue to incentivize permanent supportive housing and affordable housing development through our fee rebate program. We are also partnering with Pikes Peak Continuum of Care to create a report that shows the kinds of units that are the most needed to inform developers. We need to increase housing supply for low to moderate incomes in our community so that people experiencing homelessness have a pathway to housing that is sustainable. We will continue to create incentives, tools, and resources targeting very low income households based on the results of the upcoming housing needs assessment. We recognize that we need to find or create a sustainable resource stream to meet our Prop 123 goals to increase affordable housing in Colorado Springs. Regional collaboration and communication. Enhance communication strategies and to foster community engagement and transparency in addressing homelessness. To increase transparency and accountability, the city will improve how we communicate our response to homelessness by publishing an annual report to provide updates on the progress of our initiatives, as well as a dashboard on the city's webpage with data on homelessness in our community. We are committed to gathering community input to evaluate and improve how we are doing. Objective 6.2, promote the creation of regional response to homelessness. Homelessness is not only an issue in Colorado Springs. Housing affordability and homelessness are national, state, and regional issues. To be most effective, we need to have a regional response and work together. We are excited about developing a regional homelessness response team. We thank you for making time to come and listen and provide feedback on this work to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring in our community.
Thank you so much, Crystal. That's great. Now we're gonna move on to the text poll part of the presentation. So hopefully everyone here heard all or at least the majority of Crystal's presentation. So using your laptop or sorry, if you use your phone to scan the QR code or use the text function by texting this C Duarte 410. If you put that in the body of a text and then you send it to the number 22333, it will take you to a poll, and it'll start with question 1, which goal is most important to you? Listing the 6 goals that Crystal just went over. And then the next one is an open-ended question. So I'm going to switch, if you'll bear with me. I'll leave this here so folks can access the text poll instructions. And in about a minute, I'm going to switch screens so that we can watch the responses in real time. So folks, if you can, my city team, if you can watch the chat just for any questions, any troubleshooting. And for folks who are on the phone, if just bear with us, if we can, we'll be sharing a version of this poll through another online source that folks can take after this meeting is over. So it looks like we've got 21 people in the first question. So I'm glad this is working for a lot of you. I'm going to wait till a few more people get in. Got numbers climbing. 30 people are in question 1. You'll excuse me, I'm about to switch screens here. Folks can It's great. We've got a lot of responses. So far, affordable housing and supportive services are by far the favorite. With 44% of you who are participating, choosing goal 5. Second most popular right now, 28% of you, homelessness prevention is most popular, with enforcement and cleanup as the third most popular, 22% of you. I'll move on. To question 2, and I will activate that. So the next question is there a tool or strategy that you feel is missing? So just to give folks a sense of the level of responses that we've gotten, we got 61 answers or responses on Tuesday that were still coming through. Earlier today, we got over 130 responses to this. So over the next week, we're going to be combing through this. We're going to post all of this on our website, be very transparent about the feedback that we receive. For those of you who might be worried about your personal information, if you text this, when I get the data on who's responded, it's all anonymized. It's just a series of X's with the last 2 digits of your phone number. So this is safe to respond to. No one's name is attached. Yes. So if you do feel that there are tools or strategy that you feel is missing, please use our email address, the chat box, to be more specific. Thank you for those folks who are putting in specific responses. So it's really fun to watch these populate. Just to let you know, we're not going to be able to answer these. We will take all of this into account and see how we can make the homelessness response plan stronger and more reflective of our community's needs and wishes. So I'm afraid we won't get to that tonight, but in the last, it looks like 13 minutes or so of our presentation, just wanted to bring it back to the audience. And if you are on the phone and being polite, you can star 6 to unmute yourself. But I think we're going to start looking at the chat. I'm going to stop sharing and just take a look at the chat. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and maybe ask a question. We have one. Thank you, Tammy. Using the raise your hand function. That's very helpful. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm not sure if I'm unmuted or not.
You are unmuted. We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, I just got on here about 20 minutes ago. My computer was not working, so I did not hear a lot of it, but I've worked in childcare for 30 years and also worked with social services. And one of the things that has bothered me a lot is kids that are in foster care, when they age out. It seems that they're handed some money and the door. And it bothers me a lot, and I would like to see some work done with social services and with the foster care system to see maybe these kids worked when they're like 17 years old, 16, 17, that if they're not going back home to possibly be maybe talk to the foster parents into maybe adopting or go into a foster adopt plan so these kids are not homeless the minute they walk out the door. Because I think it's a real high portion of kids that are 17 turning 18 and they really have nowhere to go.
This is thank you for bringing this to our attention, Tammy.
Sure.
If you don't mind, we'll just call on folks, unless you want an immediate response. I'd rather make time. All of this, we have a transcription that we're saving.
Oh, that's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll just move through and we'll try to respond to questions in the aftermath and some of the things that we post. Unless you need an immediate question, just an immediate answer, please just let us know. So I think next one, Scott. I see your hand up on my screen.
Yeah, then Tammy, sorry, Scott, I'm just want to jump in real quick. Tammy, if you haven't checked out We Fortify, that might be a good organization to take a look at. They're working with student aged children that are aging out of the foster care system.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to make sure real quick. I know you don't get to see my face here at the office, but I'm Scott Anderson, owner of the Springs Echo newspaper. And I just recently took over in August for the people that got out of the Coalition for the Homeless situation.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from being a former homeless now to being a small business owner in this town, I've seen a lot of differences in the aspects of ownership aspects and where we're able to put affordable housing. I guess my biggest thing that I wanted to contribute to this is to all the people I meet that have stories that have had to go through the medical aspect. I'm going to say that the biggest troubling thing I see on our streets, even as I pass through on daily walks, we have a very large mental health problem. Our biggest thing with a lot of our chronic illness is the mental health aspect of maybe some of these individuals may never be able to take care of an apartment, no matter if they're on security or find affordable housing in that aspect. The mind has a very interesting way of working, sometimes to the benefit of people and sometimes not. I'm not saying that many of our homeless should be taken care of through counseling and medical health. I'm just simply saying we need to look at what's preventing these people from being able to get into, even if they could get into affordable housing. I know a lot of people that are still in the streets, that are in the senior years, they prefer to live in their vehicles. That is what they call home. On the same aspect as a lot of people that can take away their shopping carts, they're taking away going to. So, having come from the background of being out on the streets of Colorado Springs, I'm going to say that if we're going to look at healthcare, we need to look at it as not just physical aspect of people, but also the mental aspect. We really need to invest a lot of money into the mental health of people to see whether or not they would physically be able to have an apartment or any kind of associated housing. As age goes on, some people either will not take it or have no desire to turn out or wouldn't be able to take care of it as it is. And this is trickling down to our youth.
Scott,
So,
sorry, I need to interrupt you. We're having a really hard time hearing you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it could be the internet. I'll end this with, if we look at mental health, we could look at ways to stop the trickle down process into our youth. And I'll leave it.
Thank you, Scott. And I'm sorry, John, I missed you. You were next in line.
No worries. I got a couple of things. One thing I want to point out is that at the beginning of this meeting, it was noted that they want to look into the feasibility of constructing more bathrooms. I'm with the Colorado Springs Democratic Socialists of America. We do a weekly trash pickup in the parks every Saturday. I've walked past a number of locked bathrooms, and every single person on the street I've talked to has said, yeah, I would sure like to be able to go in that bathroom. And instead, when we go to remove their trash from their camps, it very often is the case that we're removing human waste along with that should just be going in those bathrooms. I also would like to ask about why there was a dedicated meeting for businesses to talk about this, but not one for homeless people. they're the ones that this affects the most. I feel like we're kind of othering them in this conversation, but like homeless people are the ones who are affected by this. This is their deal. If the concern is that they don't have transportation to get to City Hall or that they don't have computers to attend these Zoom meetings, I would like to know why can't we meet them where they're at? That's how you have to do homeless outreach. That's what we do. You could set up a stage in Dorchester Park or in the rescue mission or something like that. The city has the funds and the equipment and the people and the resources to do it. It's a choice not to. I would like to know if there's any thought about that.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I can't speak to the locked bathrooms. I'm gonna have to defer that to my colleagues in the Parks Department who are not here. But about reaching out to the homeless folks. So we have a few avenues that we interface with our houseless neighbors, and I invite Crystal to join in. Although we have 5 minutes left, but I'll do my best. There is the homeless focus group through the Pikes Peak Continuum of Care. We have also been working. We've had a few meetings over the last year, probably not any recent, and I will own that. But we have had discussions with the Colorado Springs Homeless Union, and we do have a list of their requests. The bathroom was one of them, and I can speak to Crystal, or Crystal can speak to other ways that we hear from people with currently experiencing homelessness and people with lived experience. We invited the business community because they requested that they have a unique perspective from. It's a different type of interface that these are issues that the Downtown Partnership regularly talks about with the city. So it was just a direct response. So with the Homeless Union, we're completely open to hearing more from either this organization or meeting folks at a shelter. We're not, that's something that we can absolutely do a better job on. So thank you.
I will just add real quick that this afternoon, the reason why we had our in-person meeting during the day was so that people experiencing homelessness or with lived experience would have an easier time to make it to the cab. And we did invite the Homeless Union specifically and other street outreach providers to invite people to come. And thankfully we did have a pretty good turnout of, we had a very diverse crowd this afternoon. But that's a very valid point. We do see and recognize the need to include people experiencing homelessness in these plans.
So Robert, you're next.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I guess my question is, you see, you're going to enforce the laws with respect to the homeless. I'm just wondering when. We put these signs up in the median. Evidently, they're too small because nobody can read them. Can't tell me the police don't drive by these people all day long. Nobody pulls them over. Nobody cites them. They run around town with these shopping carts. Having worked in retail, those things cost over $500 a pop. They're not given to them by the stores. So really just my question is, when are we going to start enforcing these laws? We've got this huge camp at Astor's on in Hancock again. I don't know how many times that people have come back. It's a garbage dump. These people sweat trash. So when are we going to start enforcing these laws? That's my question.
I'll take that one. So, sir, we are enforcing the laws, but again, with everything else, we have limited resources, and also officers that you see driving around are going to calls for service where people are being assaulted, they are involved in accidents where they're injured, and so unfortunately, we have to go to those situations where injury, the wellness of a person is threatened first Then priority is considered in regarding property, and then finally, situations involving camping and panhandling and those type of things are much further down on the list. We're not saying they're not important. It's just that we have to respond to higher priority calls first. And unfortunately, as we handle some of those, additional ones come in. And so it's constantly going from one priority call to another, frequently on many days.
If I might, it was one of the number one priorities addressed during listening tour. So yes, it's the most important, one of the most important issues addressing this community. And number two, my father used to tell me there's no such thing as a good excuse. And all I hear is good excuses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. So we are at time, and I'm sorry for the folks who have their hands up. I'm going to share my screen again so that you have, you can see our, you can see our contact info so that you can stay informed. Next steps in the next month, before the State of the City, you will see a final draft of this with, we're going to try to incorporate as much of the feedback that we've heard over the last few days into this last draft. Please stay in touch. These are the folks that we'll share, Lieutenant Steckler and Steve Johnson. Steve, I'm so sorry we didn't have your contact up on there, but please get in touch. You can stay up to the updated on, I'm sorry for the quick slide changes. Going back to our website, you can go to coloradosprings.gov /2024 homelessness response plan. You can also email us with some of the questions that you may have had that you wanted to chat about at housing and community vitality at coloradosprings.com, or sorry, coloradosprings.gov. And lastly, thank you. This is, it's really helpful for us to hear what what's on the top of everyone's mind. This is a very charged and nuanced and very emotional topic, and we see and recognize everyone's frustrations and feelings about this, and we're doing our best to address everyone affected by this, from folks who are living on the margins, experiencing homelessness, the folks who are our neighbors who are impacted by homelessness, by frontline workers, by our business owners. We want this plan to reflect all of you. It's thank you so much for your time tonight, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.